welcome everyone to Lugnut TV. Here, stealing you away for a little bit more content on the Loose Lugnuts Racing League. I'm Jeff Wood, as it says on the screen there, and today I'm joined by Judd Danielson, the number 85 and sponsor of the Cup Series for the Abruzzi Racewear USA. Your wear, your way. I'm getting used to saying that. Judd, say hi.
How you doing, everybody?
All right. Well, it's been a little bit since we did a podcast. The last one we did was in honor of our veterans. We got our veterans of the armed forces together, talked a little bit about their careers, and now we're here on the next precipice of Loose Lugnuts Racing. We're about to go into special event number 2. Uh, it's been probably since 2 weeks since I've talked about racing, but you know, uh, Judd, we've been discussing it off air, and even on ASN and Max Speed TV where we cover everything. It's been a little bit hard to race. Let's start with the truck series. There's been good racing, just not so smart racing sometimes, and that's not a diminish on drivers. Stuff's gonna happen. It's just the frequency at which it's happening.
Yeah, agreed. It's been interesting to learn, the new drivers that we came into this season. Lots of names that we hadn't raced with last year. We're having full fields. I think that's a big part of it as well. We've got 43, 41, 37 trucks, taking the green. So there's a lot of things going on around the track to try to, get yourself acclimated to, and it's been a learning curve this year for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely that learning curve, like you mentioned, and we probably go over it every time about it. 43 trucks, cars, airplanes, whatever you want to say. There's drivers on the track competing for every spot. I tried to a lot last night, and that was the Sunday Cup Series at Loudon, New Hampshire. I tried to focus on the 20th place spot area, and that's halfway through the field last night, Chud.
That's crazy.
That there was racing, yourself included in this. There was
Yeah.
racing door to door, people protecting their lines, and that's racing. I'm just saying that's the competition level. You could be 20th place driver at some nights, but you're always shooting for above and beyond that, of course. And a lot of our drivers can fit into that, what I would call on any given night a top 10 type of car.
Yeah. You're trying to get as many points as you can, you know who's going to be probably filling up the top 5 for sure, and then, you look up there and see what your top 10 competition is going to be, and if you can qualify, speaking for myself, if I can qualify in the top 15, then I just try to keep my nose clean as best I can. If I fall back into the top 20 for a little while, maybe it's like a lot of drivers have started to do, is it just gets so crazy up there, and if you're not prepared to run the whole race and have your head in it, you just shouldn't be up there. You just shouldn't put yourself in that position. Wait until later in the race, and then take your chances, I guess.
Yeah, that's true, because there's just like last night, and I think I called it live, but I don't blame the drivers. There was guys with no tires out front and cars in the middle that had just come out of that yellow uh, that were wrecked. It looked like modifieds, and then there was the guys that went down pit road. So you had like a huge mixture, and that ended up being our first caution inside of a green white checkered. However, in retrospective, maybe we shouldn't have ever been in that position. But let's not go too far forward. Let's talk about trucks. Off screen here, I'm looking at the points, and our drivers are, a little bit, they haven't changed where we could say our 4, guys that are standing out at least. Mitchell Reeves is leading the points. Justin Michael second. Keith Haney third. Randy Arms fourth. Those have been our standout truck drivers, and probably, I would hate to say it, standout drivers, except on Saturday. There's a big flip-flop there. I'm glad to see it, but we'll get to that. Those are the 4 standout truck drivers, and then we got guys vying for them to mess up week to week, and that's Jeff Gilmore, Brandon Murray, Jack Watts, Trent Drum, Ray Richer, and Brian Abbott. That will round out our top 10. And that's not even, all the drivers. That's 10 of, an average of probably 37 drivers, like you said, Judd,
Right,
week to
right.
week.
Yeah, the top 10, they're tough, and we get an opportunity to get up there and run with them, a little bit. It's just the respect. I think that the guys have started garnering the respect that they deserve, being up there every week, and um, I'll go up there and tangle with them as best I can, but I don't want to put them in positions because I know that I'm not a top 5. I'm not a top 8, 10 truck right now. I'm just trying to feel the situations out. And there's a lot of us that are running that mid pack that are just comfortable. We'll take our points. We'll keep our trucks clean. We'll load them up and we'll move on to the next track. Those guys can fight for the points, the championships. Sure. Do we want them? Sure. Do our sponsors want to see us race? Sure. Or win? Yeah, of course. But let's be smart about this. There's some fast drivers in the truck series this year, and they're not just going to let you have it.
No, and that goes the story of racing, and the way you hear Judd and I talking about it, and we're gonna move into Xfinity in just a second, but it, it it's not like it's like not a disappointing tone. It's just like we know we can do better as a group. It's just getting to that, and sometimes it just takes kicking, not kicking, but punching the guy next to you in the shoulder, going, "Hey, dude, don't do that again this week." And that's what we're seeing with some of this trial and error stuff. With certain groups of people, Ronald Klein, and then he gets different people from each division to go back and look at the race after the week's over, after things have cooled down, assess penalties if needed, stuff out there. And Judd put it in a perfect way, and I like the way they're doing it. They're not telling people who's on probation or whatnot. You just got to go out there, run a clean race, so to say. And not that you can't tangle up with someone. Stuff's gonna happen still, but you just gotta be more aware as that probationary driver. But no one else knows you're that way. So if they're running you difficult, then you get to seeing to come off of probation. I think it's a neat little tactic.
Yeah, I mean, it was neat that he, chose to do it that way only because you will run somebody differently. That happens. And if you know the guys that are on probation or the situation that they're in, they could be in trouble. You're going to maybe not push your truck as hard. And that's really not why we're out there. We're out there to race the track. And um, the other drivers are your obstacle. And I don't know that anybody's ever really, put it in that kind of terms, but the situational awareness is something that we're trying to get these drivers to understand that we understand that not everybody has the same setups and so on, but the reality is we have to be more careful. We have to be more respectful and understand what's going on around us to get these green flag pit stops. That's our goal, is to run these races and have to strategize enough where the green flag pit stop will possibly make or break your race that night. And you can get out of there with some really good points if you play it right. But with all the cautions, you never really get to play these strategies that Ron and John and the rest of us are trying to figure out how to get us there. It's just everybody's being a little bit more aggressive than is necessary during the beginning and the middle of these races. We don't have a problem racing hard at the end. We get it. Everybody's going to push for that win, but we got to get there, and we don't like doing it in 3 hours when it shouldn't take that long.
Yeah, that's true. All right, let's move on to the Xfinity here. Thinking about that on our mind, the races were better until this week, in my opinion. The cautions were less. However, it took a little bit of a turn here at the mile mark of New Hampshire. However, I like the point situation better. You don't know which of the big names are going to show up week to week because they do got their own real life. I know Mitch does drag racing from time to time on the weekend, and
Right.
then
Yep.
you got people like Daniel Smallwood. I know he can't make every Saturday race. Same thing with Randy Arms. I know he has to be a pit person for someone on the sim somewhere some Saturday. So the big guys are out of the way sometimes, and I like the way I'm looking at the points here. Brandon Thornhill, and his most consistent and best looking stats, at least on the Xfinity side, sits in first place 5 top 10s out of the 6 races. He's raced all 6, so that's a good stat to see, and that's what he's trying to emulate in the other series, but probably not as effectively. Ronald Klein's second with the same stat. They're about 3 points difference. Kyle Chadwick maintains his best ratio here after what a strong start from that 88 team. Mark Jackson, same thing with less top 10s. Rob Haynes, and the only night we get to see that 199 machine, and he usually shines out front.
Yeah, right. Rob's really good at it. You bet. I'm really impressed with Brandon this year. I got to run with him last winter series and just get to know him some more. And he's really picked up the pace. The starts of his race, he's not worried about being up front and beating and banging right away. He's doing it smart. He's got some strategies, and I don't know. He maybe doesn't know it, but we're watching him. We're actually watching him and how he's doing his races, and it shows. It's obvious. He's been getting really good results, and I'm proud of him. I'm happy for him.
Yep. Working our way down. Tied for fifth, though, is Justin Michael, probably his lowest stat bar, and that's saying something for the 87. And then Brandon Murray, uh, Bob Wells is eighth. Jason Lance, a guy we only see on Saturdays and Thursdays and Saturdays in the 86 team. So he's ninth. Tied for ninth is Daniel Smallwood. Uh, People with wins in that division are at the bottom because obviously they're missing races and they've missed more races than they can accumulate for drops. So yeah,
Right.
we'll have to see how big names and just outside of that, like I said, Mitchell Reeves, Randy Arms, Travis Browder, Gene Rogers. I don't think raced last week, or neither did Trent Drum. Uh, Judd, you're moving up there in points. It's a big fall, big win for some guys, and it's who races on Saturday and who can race on Saturday. And it's probably one of the more difficult races today, uh, being with a family and all that other things that come with the weekend.
Yeah, agreed. You're right.
You just can't devote. I hope people aren't devoting 6 days a week. I used to do 7 days a week, 24/7 loose lug nuts, and I burn out on it a couple years back. And I get back with John. I'm doing this now, obviously. I get to do broadcasting. I don't race anymore due to my internet, but you know, find your medium, and that's what I'm saying. If you can't make Saturday's race, that's cool. There's still
Right.
30 guys there vying for contention, and like I said, it is the same across all boards, and we won't harp on it too much here. But the racing is great when it's green, and then you get to that that moment where the guy goes, "I just want a little bit more," and bam, there's an incident. And
Yeah, and then on top of that, we're at New Hampshire. It's a tough track. It's flat and it's fast, and you got to really get on those binders hard. And I love New Hampshire. I really do. It's just that when you set your vehicle up right, it's a fun track to race. When you struggle, you just as soon hit the exit button because you're frustrated, and you can hear it in the racers' voices. At the same time, you can hear the guys and watch the guys that are doing just fine. And if you can settle in, the track won't hurt you so bad. But it was tough coming off these new rules and all the adjustments from the league, and then we're right into New Hampshire. And unfortunately, the trucks, we were running at about 126 to 131 degrees on the track, and it didn't get a lot warmer. I'm sorry, a lot cooler on the Xfinity car on Saturday. It dropped some. I think we were down into like 115 to 121, something like that. So it was a little bit better, but and obviously the cars handled a little better. So each day the track and the car kind of works a little bit better together. But New Hampshire's tough, and attitudes, personalities, frustration, all that comes into play.
yeah, and a little bit unique, and it was across all the boards. I hadn't seen it in the Cup side yet, which we're about to move to and talk about. But the trucks, the Xfinity, everyone was shifting in the. Well, I wouldn't say everyone, but that was the fast way around the track was when your RPMs dipped below, you would shift down about entry to middle of the corner, and then when you're accelerating off, you would shift up on exit or thereabouts if I can't remember my driving days. And it's been that way for at least a couple years. Even back when I was driving trucks, that was the fast way around Loudon and Milwaukee. So that's just what it is.
Yeah,
And
you definitely had to shift the trucks. They just lose so much momentum. They bog down. The trucks definitely, Xfinity car definitely. The Cup car. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, and why not just move into Cup? Why we're talking about that shifting? Our first two, maybe three cautions, and a couple cautions weren't even called. I think a lot of guys off of turn number two more than the front stretch. Thank God, because there's limited room. I don't know, Judd. What as a driver, were you more scared of someone spinning off a turn two, hitting the inside wall coming out, or spinning off a turn four, hitting that pit wall and coming back out on the shorter or the lengthwise of the width of the front straightaway?
Yep, you nailed it. Both sides, both ends of the track where you just had to really keep your eyes open because guys were just, a little bit more into that throttle. And once the car started to come around, there really was no getting it back. And we see that in the replay that some of the guys just they would get it to the edge and you just can't get it back. So going into one, the car was a little bit easier to corner. I think there's a I think there's a little hill in 3 and 4, but I mean somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I just know that I had to seem to be on my binders on my brakes a lot harder into 3 than I had to. I could roll through the corner a lot better 1 and 2, and then I could get back on the gas. Once you got onto the concrete, if you were splitting your rears between the asphalt and the concrete there, that you're losing it if you really get into the gas. But I mean, I've got thousands of laps at New Hampshire, and I still only finished 13th, I think, something like that. So it's not a perfect track for anybody, and it was hot. It was really, really hot.
Yep, and that's, New Hampshire's race number 6, obviously, through the course of our season so far. Points-wise, Daniel Smallwood, I think there is a penalty somewhere. I can't tell who has the penalty based on, the drop race, previously through the first 3 weeks, but Daniel Smallwood with a commanding lead, lost a lot from where he could have finished, but still enough, to finish inside the top 10. Race 5 races, 5 top 10s, he's got a win. He's got a pole up there, so he's up there in first. Keith Haney, second. Justin Michael, and this is like repeating. Gosh, I'm sorry, but fourth. Randy Arms, fifth. Kyle Chadwick, Ken Richardson. He fell a couple spots this week. I think he was one of the first people out, and
Yeah,
that
he
sucked.
blew his motor. Yeah, he blew his motor. He that was a tough one. We all kind of felt for him there because he's doing really well up there.
Yeah, it good to see the 6 team. He only fell 2 spots in points. He's down to 6. So I think he can recuperate. And I say that, and I haven't mentioned where we're going for the next points race. But seventh is Jeff Merck. Probably his best runs are in the Cup car. Tyler Needham, one of the Needham brothers. I believe Tyler's in the 20, Brandon's in the 21. They're gonna correct me when I'm wrong, but Tyler, he only races Sunday, so he's got all 6 races in. Good to see him up there in points. Mitch Reeves obviously missed last week uh, at Pocono for Cup, I think, or no, it was after Pocono. Who knows? But he missed one, so he's in ninth place in points, and that's saying something from dropping from first and only missing one race that he can't, cover. So there's that. Trey Galligan is 10th. He's probably having more successful runs in the Cup also. And that's the same for other guys in other divisions of the trucks and the Xfinity. You see the guys that where they're most successful at sometimes, and that's just by chance. You're not you always run into the same people on the same division and you're frustrated, but sometimes you can sneak away and get into a vehicle like we see some of these guys doing and have better points nights. But Bob Wells 11th, Browder I believe with a win on the at Charlotte. Ray Richards up there. Trent lost a few spots. The 23 Josh Scott and 16th place. I'm gonna mention his name because I'm gonna get it wrong. John Shulumetsky. I got it wrong. I know I did. He'll correct me.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one.
Yeah, I just started saying Crandall. I was calling him Crandell.
Yeah, it's Crandall.
Yep, Mr. D'Amico corrected me. And speaking of Mr. D'Amico, we got up on screen Max Speed TV. Obviously, we got Saturday and Sunday. Sundays with D'Amico and myself, and then Saturday on the Xfinity side, you get Josh Medlock. ASN covers our Thursday night, and that's our main divisions. Also, we do have Loose Lug Nuts Dirt Tour running. That's under a different, iRacing portal page, but still connected fully with Loose Lug Nuts. That's just getting started for this season. Go check them out if you can. I'll leave up both portal pages for the league. We're not getting any new drivers, and I hope they keep that for the remainder of the season. No new drivers on the asphalt stuff. We're going to stick with what we have. We've narrowed it way down to the guys, so we don't have 120 guys trying to get in a 43 car field. We only have like 79 trying to get into a 43 car field.
Yeah,
And
that's crazy.
yeah, and we used to be up to like 2 to 300 drivers. Guys come in, they participate, they didn't like it, or they can't commit week to week, and that's what we're looking for. I think we've narrowed it down successfully, Judd, to that 80 group of drivers that can do the three divisions.
Yeah, and I think if you look at the point side of it, you see the guys that are, they're 6 races in, they got 6 races under their belts. A few of us scattered in and there, in and around with five, and so on. But yeah, and I see that the guys are showing up. The rooms fill up really fast, so everybody seems to be excited to get in there and get some practice in the room. It's 37 to 43 trucks, cars every week. So, and I know that that's what we were all anticipating and hoping for. And it's been an excellent recruitment, through the off season. Got a lot of drivers, and there's a lot of talent in there. A lot more than I was anticipating of seeing so fast. Just drivers that are just so good. It's just crazy.
Yep, and interesting note: 49 drivers, at least on the Cup side. Now that I'm looking at it, I scrolled a little bit off screen here, looking at this stat. 49 drivers have logged in and ran at least 3 races. So 49 drivers have run half a season so far, and that's saying something. If you want to look at the more convincing stat, is I think in the Cup side we have around 34 drivers that have raced 5 or more races, and
Nice.
that's a good number because you always see fall off as points get posted and drivers go back and forth. It's just I know some drivers. I think Judd said himself too are included in this. You just are having a bad season. Stick with it. It gets better. We go through this season to season, just like NASCAR does with the how to develop drivers and get them used to racing around. And I blame NASCAR for it too. The style of driving we see sometimes, get what you can when you can. Uh,
Yeah. Right. Right.
that's there. I don't know. It It'll get better. It can't. I guess it could get worse, but it's not gonna get worse because we're better here at Loose Lug Nuts. We're gonna always do our best out there, um, going forward.
Well, I think now being 6 races in, we're coming to kind of a an area, to have some fun this weekend, and there's no pressures on anybody just to go out and have fun and enjoy the Thanksgiving and so on. But we're used to the drivers. We kind of have an idea of each individual driver, what they tend to bring to the track, um, how they act in their cars, how they react to certain situations. 3 weeks ago, there was drivers that we didn't have a good idea about, and I mean, I've made my share of mistakes already, embarrassed the heck out of myself, but I mean, it just happens. It's racing. Things do what they do. You can't control all the mechanics. These rigs are not perfect. So we've got the fast guys up there. We try to respect them and give them as much opportunity to go win these races if that's what they got to do. But at the same time, those of us that might stay out on 2 tires because we've done our homework, we know they're going to last a little while. Let us run up front. These guys have sponsors, and those sponsors want to see their logos and their vehicles that they've painted, and so on and so on and so on. So it's just nice that we're starting to get these relationships built, and there's friendships obviously out there, and there's teams and stuff, but you don't hear you don't hear the negativity that might have been coming through the radios, 3 months ago or something when we were doing all these practice races and so on and so forth. Not that it was then so much, but I think the guys have started to settle down. We're here for the long haul. We're trying to garner as many points as we can, and we can't do that if we're constantly running under cautions and wrecking each other.
Yep, that's for sure. So we've gone over, points and whatnot, Judd. That is definitely going to change, and it's going to change for some people that don't can't afford a drop race too. Because our next point race in 2 weeks' time is at Talladega.
Yeah. Throw your quarters in, take a risk.
Yeah, and some people can't afford a risk. I don't know, Judd. I think we had one fast repair during the special event. Would you like to see Ron and John add in a fast repair for that race? One,
Nah, we don't need them. We don't need them. I mean, there's a reason that they're in there, and that's carelessness. The special events are one thing. We like to have big fields and so on, but I think our drivers in these series are good drivers. They just need to settle in and relax and enjoy what's going on. We're never going to win and finish this race on that first lap. We all know that. So you go and put a fast repair in there, a quick fix. It's just you're just asking for somebody to do something, and I just as soon take my chances, race hard, and treat it like it's real world. And if you screw up, you're going home early.
yep, that's a good way to look at it too. Well, we got that, but quick reminder, I'll maybe put up a little flash screen here in editing, but this Friday and Saturday Thanksgiving Bash, it's at, oh gosh, I'm not remembering the track. Where's that at, Judd?
Yeah, good question. I think, gosh, I want to say it was at Texas, but no,
No,
isn't it?
no.
Isn't it Talladega?
No, it's South Carolina. I know that. I forget the name of the track, but throwback paints, everyone.
Yep, yep, yep.
So get out there, get those paints. I've seen Judd's done up real nice. Old Jimmy Johnson style scheme with some Abruzzi logos put in.
Yeah, yep, yep. My buddy Jimmy, been following him since the day, and it's just it's a bittersweet year coming up for the man, but hey, we've enjoyed watching him. He's a king in his own right, so I thought I'd throw back to him and throw some lows out there.
Yep. Well, I'm gonna save the NASCAR news till after the first of the year podcast. That way we can get it all wound up and get ready for the 500. But you do mention because you're running the Jimmy scheme. We're coming up in 2020. He's already announced with Rick Hendrick this will be his final season coming up. Does he break the King's record? Are you hoping he doesn't?
Yeah, I'd like to see him do it. Absolutely, I'd like to see him do it. I mean, respect for the 43, absolutely. But I'd love to see Jimmy go out. One more big hurrah. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can tout as a Gordon fan is more race wins, right? At this point on the Cup
Yeah,
side,
yeah.
those championships, Jimmy really took off with them and tied Senior and the King Richard Petty. So no one's gonna ever catch that 200 mark of Richard Petty.
No.
Well, that's not even a topic we need to discuss.
Right.
That's too far gone. However, I think Jimmy was the next closest in my mind that could get to maybe the 100 mark race wins. Maybe Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch. Uh, Beyond that, I don't really see Martin Truex. If he gets maybe a championship or two more, he might be done racing himself.
Well, I got to think that, with the championship sitting at the 18 this year, that Kyle, he's very young still. We take into consideration how young he was when he started. So he's got a pretty good shot at this if he can just keep going. And
Keep fans on
I'm
his side
okay.
too.
Yeah, he's all right. He's all right. I think he's a perfect ambassador for NASCAR. I don't bash him. I don't hate him. I don't necessarily go out and buy his stuff, but I like having those type of drivers in there. I mean, we all miss the three. We all miss him. And there was a reason that everybody loved him so much. It was what he brought to the table. You mess, you're gonna pay, and I'm not saying that Kyle needs to act like that or whatever, but I'm more of a Kurt Busch type fan. Um, Kurt's been around a long time. I'd like to see him continue to grow his craft and get some more wins. But I'm happy he's still racing. That's where I'm at with it.
That's about all the NASCAR we're going to talk about because God, Kyle Busch fans, T Rowdy himself. That was actually pretty good for Travis Browder. Probably pumped him up. Kyle Busch
Oh
winning,
my
and then
gosh.
he goes out and wins that night at Holmes or not at Homestead at Charlotte here on Loose Lug
Yeah,
Nuts
yeah.
Racing.
Yep, that was great. It was fun. It was really fun. It was a tough race, but I'm glad that he got that win because I mean he had to earn it. There's no doubt he had to earn it. So that's nice. That was a long weekend for him. I'm sure it was a lot of stress, and I'm glad he got to come out on top.
All right, well, that's about all the loose lug nuts things we're gonna talk about. Here's the special thing coming up because I'm gonna throw up our Sunday Cup sponsor logo here in the corner, and we're gonna first talk about. You're gonna be hearing from Judd and Abruzzi as a sponsor more often on Sundays coming up and at the special event coming up. So we're gonna be trying to tout the Abruzzi in the beginning as a pre-race show. We're still gonna talk to drivers and whatnot, but we're gonna try to get that cup sponsor out there because sometimes you get into a race and you just forget it. I know I stumble on the words when I'm, looking over my notes and whatnot because I got this whole thing written down of what to say. However, Judd, we're coming into the holiday mark. I think the time has passed for people to get their orders in.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to guarantee that they can have them before Christmas at this point. We do have a code that's running right now through the 30th, and if you're ordering, fully blown custom boots, it's probably going to be tough because we're dealing with, both leathers and so on, and you got to get the mock-ups back from the designer. If you're not checking your email right away and you give up 2 3 days, you might as well just bank on 5 to 6 weeks at this point. So we'll get the orders in. We've got a lot of stuff coming back that's been into production. We just dumped a big order out this past week, and we got another one coming in. Probably show up. I was hoping it'd be here before Thursday, but it looks like it's going to probably be Friday. But there's still a good opportunity to get a pair of gloves. They can produce those pretty quickly, but it's still 3 4 weeks out before anything you do custom. It's really what Abruzzi's all about is the custom wear and what you want on it, you're getting it. And as long as you get that mock up back from Ian, then you're going to get exactly what you wanted on it. And any questions, obviously I'm here to take the punches and we'll get you satisfied.
Yeah, and that's perfect. We'll have that link in description as always here, and I think Mr. D'Amico started adding it to his broadcast also. So there's that. Go check them out, please. Yeah, I mean, they're taking a big jump here with loose lug nuts. Been touting them. I love the stuff they have put out. Judd put it perfectly, and I think it fits well with the style that we've seen in loose lug nuts. One guy buys a nice wheel, the next guy goes out and gets that same wheel when he sees success from that other guy. And we got a lot of drivers out there with $2,000 wheels or those big nice setups, the leather wheels, the leather seats. Um, sometimes the pedals are pretty darn expensive themselves, and you don't want to get these things all messed up. And
Right.
it, if you're just looking, you're like, oh, those are for cars. No, they're not. Use them in your simware. You got 500 to $2,000 wheel. You don't want your skin cells, dirtying up the pores of the leather or, going after some tears or your seat or you don't like if some people race barefoot and I don't get it. Why not go to the next best thing and put on a pair of cart boots to where you can still feel the pedals, but keep your sim gear safe?
Right. Yep. The Alcantara wheels, you spoke right there. I run one, and you can tell right away when you get those oils all over that Alcantara. It's the leather soaks it up, and you'll ruin them. I mean, you can go online and see pictures of these wheels that are ruined, and I don't want to pay somebody to rewrap that wheel. I'll spend the money and go buy myself a pair of gloves. And I mean, I hear it from all over. the internet and so on. It's, I'll just go to the store and buy a pair of gloves, blah blah blah. Well, that's fine, that's great. But you're advertising for yourself, or if you do Twitch or if you do camera work or so on and so forth on your rigs, you're showing somebody that doesn't pay you to do this, that doesn't sponsor you, doesn't do anything for you. You just went out and gave them whatever you gave them for money. Why not make yourself a personal custom pair that you are proud of to put on every single night racing, and you're touching this wheel that you just spent, 800, 1,000, $2,000 on these pieces of equipment that we do. And it's been a phenomenal reaction. It's gotten extremely busy. The visitors to the website, the Facebook page has just overwhelmingly been supportive at this point. So we got a lot of stuff going on, a lot of new products coming out. I'm working with the guys over in the UK every day, looking at all the new things that he's bringing to the table for us. So all I can ask is AbruzziUSA.com. Go out there and do some research. Look around. There's a lot of buttons and bells and whistles over there and the holiday savings is the coupon code name. Holiday savings, at least 10% off. We're going to do a Black Friday sale. We're going to do a Cyber Monday sale. But right now through the 30th, you can still get a couple days ahead of everybody else coming into Black Friday. So just keep an eye on the Facebook page, Abruzzi Racewear USA, and you'll see those postings coming out.
Yep, and it will be at the top of our description in the links. So go check them out. Like I said, Abruzzi Racewear, our new Saturday Cup sponsor. We're gonna have a link for them coming up shortly. Also, all the portals and Facebook pages out there. All those links will be out there. Go check out Abruzzi. We've been showing some of the info. I say the info, but it's actually the images on screen. We've seen the City Chevrolet gloves, which I think are really neat with the, you know, people looking at. We got the Red Bull style red and black gloves up, and let's move on to the next one here. Looking at it a little bit full screen here. I like it because I think this is what's more sim racer. Even though I like the colors or whatnot, I think this black on black is more sim racer style. Uh, you can put a logo on there. I think there's one there with the American flag on it. I'm looking at right now. This is just a
Yeah.
small percentage of the custom stuff that they have done, and everything is custom at Bruising.
Yeah, I mean, our basic sim glove that a person would purchase, you're always going to get your choice of your car number, your name, and your flag. Even if you're living in the United States, you can have any flag in the whole world on there. You choose your name and your number. If you want to start customizing this, it'll be a little bit more cost wise, but it's not horrible. It's a few more dollars, and then you can start putting imprints. I don't care what you bring to the table, we'll put it on there. And we're going to start loading up the Facebook page with all of these products that we're getting orders for. Um, it's amazing. It blows my mind. I tell the staff, I'm like, I cannot believe some of the ideas that folks come up with, but they're going to have this forever. At this point, these gloves and these boots, they're in good shape. They'll stay nice. I don't want to get into the how you keep these things clean and so on, but they are cleanable. Just check your box, check your packages. You'll have that information in them when you get them. They're good quality. That's why we did this. That's why I took the risk. That's why I joined Abruzzi. I spent over a year promoting these guys before I did anything with them, and now here are in the USA, and we can finally get these things faster. I was waiting 8 to 10 weeks to get stuff over here a year and a half ago. I couldn't get it here fast enough, but now Ben stepped up, and I really appreciate him and what he's done and the opportunity for all of us in the US and Canada. I mean, I'll ship to Canada. Just get on there and get it ordered. You'll get your stuff.
Yeah, that's terrific. And you mentioned the cleaning style. Even if sim racing falls out for you, uh, here's a perspective. Because I've sold a wheel already. I probably could have got more money if I didn't have my skin cells in the pores. It helps with resale value on wheels and pedals and all that. People don't
Sure.
want tons of dirty looking things when you have to resell it, if that's an opportunity. But a small investment with gloves and boots always helps. With the resale of the wheel, the rigs, whatever you want to call it. However, let's transition back over here to our main screen. We're going to go ahead and end the night, Judd. But big thank you coming on, talking about it. Like I said, we're gonna have Judd on a lot more to tout his Abruzzi stuff throughout the rest of the Cup season. Stay tuned for those pre-race shows. That's gonna be fun. I think we'll try to get a new image product up every week if Mr. D'Amico can handle uh, act, that amount of stuff coming at him.
Michael, he can handle it. He can handle it. He's good at it. He gets excited about it, but we know that he brings the best of the best. So yeah, Matt, I'll fill it up for him. He'll be yeah. He can talk to me about it if he wants, but he enjoys looking at this stuff too. So it's pretty neat. But I'm excited. Yeah, I think we'll have some fun, and I'm excited to talk to some of these drivers. We don't really get to be on the radio very much. It's very quiet, believe it or not. There's not a lot of radio chat during the races, so there's a lot of guys that I'm getting to know outside of iRacing just because of Abruzzi and such. But it'll be interesting to talk to them and get their perspectives as well.
All right. Well, like I said, thank you for Judd coming on. Thank you for Abruzzi, obviously Judd talking about it. We look forward to our next podcast. Not sure where it's going to be. We'll probably have at least one more before the Christmas holiday, and we'll talk about those racing, that stats. Not sure who my co-host is going to be then, but it's been fun here tonight. Stay safe, everyone out there, and we'll see y'all next time.